So this is week number 15. Startup number 1 says find the sum or difference. We are looking at finding the sum on this particular problem. Remember, we want to take the first entry and add it to the first entry. The second entry added to the second, so forth and so forth. So it would be -4 plus -2, -1 plus 0, 7 plus 3. That's my first row. My second row would be 0 plus a -5, 3 plus 5, and 2 plus a -1. I complete all of those operations and I will get my solution. So for my first entry, a -4 plus -2 gives me -6. -1 plus 0 is -1. 7 plus 3 is 10. 0 plus a -5 is -5. 3 plus 5 is 8. And 2 plus a -1 is 1. So there's my solution for the sum of those two particular matrices. Let's look at number 2 now. It says solve the matrix equation. Treat it just like it's an equation. So this matrix has to go across, and when it goes across, we would then subtract it. So x equals our 2 by 2 matrix minus our 2 by 2 matrix. So very similar to question number 1, we're going to combine the given entries. So we'll say the first entry minus the first entry of the other matrix. So 9 minus 3. We would then have 4 minus a -7. -5 minus 1. And then 5 minus 9. So 9 minus 3 is 6. 4 minus a -7. Those two become those two negatives become positive. So it's 4 plus 7 of 11. -5 minus 1 is -6. And 5 minus 9 is -4. So our X matrix equals 6, 11, -6, -4 is our solution. Let's go to number 3. Solving the matrix equation on number 3. Same instructions. Let's go. So we take the inverse matrix and we multiply it times both sides. So 3, -1, 2, -1 will be multiplied times the first matrix of 1, -1, 2, -3 equals 3, -1, 2, -1 is our inverse matrix. We're going to multiply that times -4, 8. Now, when we multiply these two together, we are supposed to get the identity matrix. So 3 times 1 plus -1 times -1. That's our first entry. Oh, I'm multiplied by the wrong one, sorry. It should be -1 times 2. Row 1 times column 1. Then I'm going to say row 1 times column 2. So 3 times negative 1 plus negative 1 times the negative 3. Then I will say row 2 times column 1. So 2 times 1 plus negative 1 times 2. And then row 2 times column 2. 2 times negative 1 plus negative 1 times negative 3. Clean that up. Notice that we have 3 minus 2, which gives us 1. Negative 3 plus 3, which gives us 0. 2 minus 2, which is 0. And negative 2 plus 3, which is 1. So that is the identity matrix. Since we got the identity matrix when we multiplied those two together, we know we will have a solution. So then we continue on with the problem. So that means that we now have to multiply these two matrices together, and that will give us the solution. If you did not get the identity here, that means that this equation has no solution, so you would just stop. But since we did get the identity matrix, we will now multiply those two matrices together. And we're going to do the same process. We are going to multiply row 1 times column 1. So I'm going to say 3 times negative 4 plus a negative 1 times 8. And then row 2 times column 1. 2 times negative 4 plus negative 1 times 8. Clean that up. So 3 minus 4, when I multiply those are negative 12. Negative 1 and 8 is negative 8. Adding those two together gives me a negative 20. Then multiplying 2 and negative 4 is negative 8, plus negative 8 gives me negative 16. So that means that my solution is negative 20, negative 16. The X matrix equals negative 20 over negative 16. Well, I wouldn't say over because it's not a fraction. It's just negative 20, negative 16. All right, let's look at number 4.
I ain't even gonna do all that much work. You ain't even know. I ain't doing none of that.
Number 4 and number 5, let's look at the product. Number 4, we are simply having a scalar, meaning we just have the number outside, and we're going to multiply that times every term in the matrix. So I'm going to say negative 2 times 7, negative 2 times negative 4, negative 2 times 0, negative 2 times negative 3,
Just got 6 on it.
negative 2 times 0,
Okay.
negative 2 times 5, negative 2 times 6, negative 2 times 2, and negative 2 times 1. So now we multiply. That is our matrix. As we multiply, we have negative 14, 8, 0, 6, 0, negative 10, negative 12, negative 4, and negative 2. And that is our solution for number 4. We simply take the values, multiply them together. That's what we do when we have a scalar.
That's the question I asked you last week. I just feel like you ain't tell me that's how you wanted me to show my work. Because I asked you that last week, how you want me to show you my work when I work this problem, and you ain't tell me. That's how you want me to show it.
And you ain't even know.
Still ain't messing my work.
First, you watch the dance.
Number 5 says to find the product.
15.
Now, we are to take the first term. When we're multiplying, we're taking that row 1 times column 1. So negative 5 times 3, and we will add that to negative 8 times 1. Then we'll say row 1 times column 2. Y'all need to listen. Negative 5 times negative 9 plus negative 8 times negative 5. You take this row and multiply it times this column to get this entry here. Now we will take row 2 and multiply it times each one of these columns. So row 2 is negative 2, and we're going to multiply it times row 1 of 3, and negative 9 times 1. Now we take row 2 and multiply by column 2. Perform each one of those operations. There's our matrix. So I'm going to say negative 5 times 3 plus a negative 8 times 1, which is negative 8. I'm going to say negative 5 times negative 9, which is 45, plus negative 8 times negative 5, which is 40. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6, plus negative 9 times 1 is negative 9. And negative 2 times negative 9 is positive 18. Plus negative 9 times 5 is positive 45. Now I perform those operations. I know that I'm showing a lot of steps. Now complete it. Negative 15 plus a negative 8 is negative 23. 45 plus 40 is 85. Negative 6 and negative 9 is negative 15. And 18 plus 45 gives us 63. That is our new matrix. That is our solution when we multiply those two together.
I got a question.
Number 6. We're asked to find the determinant. Now, if we're asked to find the determinant of a 3 by 3, the first thing that we are to do is to write the first 2 rows, or recopy those over here. That way, when we multiply, that gives us those other 2 rows. Now, we multiply 1 times negative 4 times 3. So 1 times negative 4 times 3. I will add that to the product of 5, negative 3, and 1. And I will add the product of 2, negative 1, and 4. I will then start subtracting the products of 1, negative 4, and 2. So I'm going to subtract the product of 1, negative 4, and 2. I will subtract the product of 4, negative 3, 1. And subtract the product of 3, negative 1, 5. Find all those products, add or subtract where needed, and that will be your determinant for this 3 by 3. I don't know. Sorry. Just showing product. So, 1 times negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. 5 times a negative 3 plus 1 is negative 15. So I'm adding, I don't have to write plus negative 15. Negative 1, 2, and 4 gives us negative 8. So minus 1 times negative 4 times 2, which is negative 8, so it becomes a positive 8. Minus 4 times negative 3 times 1 here gives us a negative 12, so that becomes positive 12. And minus 3, negative 1, 5 gives us a positive 15. Combine all those numbers together. Notice, as you look at this, if possible, if you can cancel numbers, notice negative 15 and 15 cancel. Negative 12 and positive 12 cancel. And negative 8 and positive 8 cancel. So therefore our determinant is 0 for this 3 by 3. And this is our startup for week number 15.